guys. Okay, so tonight we have Ken Bailey joining us. Ken Bailey started caving in the 70s on his own around his house with a candle. And since then, he's led and educated many students and trained as an emergency responder and met more and more cavers over the years. He's currently a level 2 with the National Cave Rescue Commission. He's fundraised and led a number of technical rope training courses, which are ongoing. He caved independently for a while with friends and family, attending Speleo Fest and Bridge Day, and eventually was convinced to join the Louisville Grotto, where he has served in different leadership roles, and he is also an NSS member. He says joining the NSS is worth it for the journal. His professional life takes place in a GIS department where he maps sewers, which is not cave mapping, but very similar, or it did. His department required interagency cooperation across multiple counties. So in states of emergencies, he worked in flood protection for the city of Louisville, Kentucky. He's passionate and skilled at survey and cave map drafting. He's also active in conservation and activism, working to stop a rock quarry in Kentucky that would destroy a significant karst area. Ken has also volunteered on many cave projects, including significant contributions to funding, innovating, and studying cave biology of cave bats and beetles. He's a founding member of the Kentucky Karst Conservancy, and he's currently their president. They're an active small group providing education and conserving the Big Bat Cave in Breckinridge County, Kentucky. He's also the land manager for Frenchman Knob Cave in Kentucky, for the Southeastern Cave Conservancy, you may have heard of them, and he and his wife own and manage Roberts Hollow Cave in Kentucky. His current project has him working on the LiDAR project to map Big Bat Cave, and this project is an all-volunteer project used to improve resumes for young cavers. He's worked to gain a number of grants to keep the project going at full speed, and tonight we will see some of the amazing results of that hard work. Ken, take it away. Everybody else, mute.
Yeah. You're now in charge of editing my life. I feel very accomplished after hearing that. I don't know everyone or everyone's skill level, but just say your names on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. I'll get most everybody's name.
Kara.
Bamba.
Joel.
Amy.
Okay, thank you.
Ray.
Nicole.
And then I don't know everyone's skill level, so if I'm going to go ahead and talk kind of the generic talk as opposed to being really nerdy, but if you have a technical question and you think it's relevant where we're at, then we'll go ahead and stop what we're doing. Just interrupt me. I won't read the chat stuff, and we'll just, feel free to interrupt me with questions anytime.
We love nerdy, Ken.
Okay, well then.
Be as nerdy as you can.
Okay.
Yeah, I love that.
Okay.
You guys, if you want to ask a question, go ahead and just wave at us and we'll unmute you and stuff.
Okay. Well, I'm going to start with some video and some slideshows, and then we'll just go from there. We'll just figure it out from there. So, are you guys seeing an old guy in an orange helmet? Okay. This is J. Pat Stevens, and he was the visionary on Big Bat Cave. And this was our last trip together. He's in his 80s now and won't go caving with me anymore. And but he had mapped to this sinkhole, bought the property, and then dug the hole and put the culvert in there to keep it from the sinkhole filling back in, so we can get to access to the cave. And years of us, working together with the Louisville Grotto and taking, I'm always willing to take a crappy job. And we just got a great friendship, and he trusted me to take care of it after now that he's getting past it. But it's just kind of one of those, I always like to take a moment because I'm here because old guys looked in on me and mentored me and just kind of, I made sure I was a caver. So I really appreciate all of those guys and what they've done for me, and especially what he did for the caving community. And he's a 50-year member of the NSS and a founding member of the Louisville Grotto. So it's kind of a neat guy. So this is one of those kids that came on the project and just is special. How do you get back? This is probably 3 years of scanning and understanding how a scanner works in a cave to build this. When she scanned this passage, she made a point to make sure she was the lead on this passage and set the scanner. And we're going to talk about how to set the scanner up and all that stuff was going. But she made sure she had them all in the correct. It started from the same orientation, and was able to make this video. And I'm really proud. This is part of her portfolio, and she's up getting her PhD now in biology up in Canada. And this was one of her pieces that helped her get that free ride up there. So that's the whole point of this. If you're in science in Kentucky, you're going to have a really crappy job. And if you're a woman in science in Kentucky and want to work in science, you're leaving Kentucky. That's just simple as that. And so a lot of the kids that come on this, they're college students, have to leave the state to go work. And this was, like I say, her thing here, and it's just the pinnacle of the LiDAR. Just really beautiful work. This is about a 4-hour crawl without a LiDAR, and then a 6-hour crawl with a $65,000 piece of equipment that I gave to a college student that was on my credit card. And this is what she did with it. I'm so glad I trusted her with it. Just a really remarkable thing. Again, if you have any questions about it or whatever, I mean, this is taking the thing. One of the things I want you to look for is see the balls as we pass. You'll see these spheres. And then you can also look and you'll see different density patterns. Like we just went over a circle where it's not dense. And those are where the tripod set. So the data didn't collect directly under the tripod. And the balls we'll use as a reference for they call them targets in LiDAR, but they're basically the monuments and stuff. So anyway, it's just a really cool piece of work. And like I said, I'm really proud of her. That's just the Conservancy, the Big Bat Cave. And no one wants to read stuff. This was the original culvert that they put in. And it was level with the ground, and then a flood came in and washed everything out of the sinkhole, and it left it setting up high. And that's how I got the name the mushroom entrance. It looked like a big mushroom sticking out of there. So this was some of the early radio stuff. I mean, in 1970, a guy went to Radio Shack, cobbled this together, and they documented that was the sinkhole from the top. And I've seen these guys still use the same piece of equipment. So it's really a neat thing. I don't know how familiar everybody is with Kentucky geology, but we basically have the bluegrass here. And of course, over here is the Cumberland and the last uplift, the last mountain building event when all the Blue Ridge and all that stuff, the Cumberland Plateau was being built. And that upwarps this, and that's why we have this slope over here. And that's what gives us Big Bat. We're right here on this escarpment over here. And actually a little further over. Plus that faulting system gives plenty of ways for the water to get down in. There's probably 7 or 8 14-mile caves over here. It's a really, really neat part of the world. Here's that showing that upwarp and how we were built. And we're, like I say, we're over here in between the Cumberland, the Pennyroyal is what that area is called. But basically you can see it's plowed off and filled in these basins. So it's a dome and basin. This is a little more general geology, and this is really just to show you how Big Bat's made. This is Big Bat over here. And then Chris's cave is just to the north. It's in the same drainage, and we'll look at some of that too. But this escarpment here is cut across with this paleo ridge, the sandstone ridge, which is what we think is how all the water got down there to build these long caves. And like I say, it's in between two major fault systems, the Rough River fault system down there. So it's a really just a fascinating. It's just a thing. Just to show you, we're in the St. Genevieve, and the Paoli limestone is where most of Big Bad is, and then there's that Moortown. But you go up to the sample, and that's our cap rock, and we'll look at that later too. So just to give you an idea, really cool how it crosses under streams, so you know these streams came later, and it goes under ridges, and just where Big Bad goes is really kind of a cool thing. Just to look at it with the topography and stuff. I find this really fascinating. This is a dim. This isn't LiDAR, but it's a. If you take a look, you can see the cave, and down here, I mean, I didn't see this until I looked at it, but you've got this paleo channel, and with the Moortown or that other sandstone elevation, we certainly had the right rocks, the right lithology to have a previous cave building episode, and you can find those fossilized channels. Down here, there's a cave called Carmen's, and it's higher up in the rock column, and it's an older cave. They're always really highly decorated, and these paleo passages from a previous cave building episode. Big Bad is a brand new cave. It's very little decorations. It's floods. It's a flood cave. It's still being built, and so like I said, to see this thing, but it's also, oh darn it. One of the cool things is, if you'll notice these passages down here, they're all fed by these sinkholes. You can see these sinkholes here feeding it. So that's kind of cool to see how where the water's coming in and how it's going out and all that kind of stuff. Just kind of a neat way to look at the cave and stuff. This was the original idea for the LiDAR project, and I'll step back and we'll take a look at that. Well, this is the cave, because of where it is on the escarpment. If you're going parallel to the escarpment, you've got these fluvial tubes, and then you have the Vados canyons, that are going north south or into the downhill flow. And so it's really easy to tell what direction you're headed in by the passage you're in. So it's a really cool kind of thing to know. It's a really diverse. This waterfalls are in there, and it's just amazing just how many different things. It's 14 miles of cave, so there's just a ton of different environments in there, and just we are a white nose cave. Big Bat had 1,000 bats. And then we have 40 at the last official bat count, which is, to be in charge and to watch that happen just was, I don't know. As a geologist, somebody trained in geology, to see it in extinction or an expatriation is just an honor. Most of the time when you see an extinct species, it's just the fossil remains. But to watch it happen was kind of in awe. And then the other half is really heartbreaking, because my job was to make sure that didn't happen. So it just is. So this is, like I say, to get how this project came about, is Ben Shinneberry here bought this really expensive piece of equipment, and he and I worked together. He was one of our contractors when I was with city government, and he had bought this piece of equipment and was lamenting that it may have been a mistake because it wasn't getting used very much. And I said, I've got a use for it. And so he listened, and our personalities are completely opposite, and just very fortunate that we understand that that's our strength working together. And so he came down, and we brought a laptop, set an office up, we scanned everything, and it went okay. Nothing got broke. Well, one thing got broke, and so we only lost $200. I broke it, so that wasn't good. But one of those little spheres that you see back there, I broke. And anyway, we went on and gave a talk at a conference, and now he doesn't have time for me anymore because he's making so much money LiDARing. So He's bought several more machines. He's rented machines. He hires kids out of the project, which makes me feel good because they get to go to work and it's a, I mean, he's a surveyor. I mean, he really, you would learn a lot standing next to him. Anybody that works for him will learn a lot.
Hey,
The other
Ken,
two, yes.
what does he survey? Land?
No, mostly they do highway projects. It's really big stuff. State, you know, they're generally a contractors for government agencies. So
Okay.
you know, he builds big infrastructure. He's been LiDAR in bridges. You know, in Kentucky we built one new bridge in the last 20 years, and I was part of that. I did three $17 million studies over a 20-year period. So we finally got it built, but they scan it now, and with the LiDAR, which is actually you can take inventory of the cracks and the crumbling, and then come back a year later, rescan it, and you can see how far things have deteriorated. And it's actually you have to adjust it because the survey monuments aren't as exact as the LiDAR. So it's really been a cool thing. It's really ups the thing. And in fact, one of the girls, actually, I'll go back to her. She's no longer a kid. She's grown up a little. Is now an engineer with the state who works with Ben. So this project has really been, like I said, my job is, I'm just a village idiot that says I'll take a chance and break your equipment. And but these kids get a chance to go. I was a poor kid from Kentucky that went to school on the state. It was I got hurt and it was just a train wreck of a period. But I never got to take internships and stuff because I had to pay rent, and so I turned down a lot of cool stuff. Well, what I wanted to make was a project where a kid could come for one day, have his hands on a $65,000 piece of equipment on the leading edge of technology, and then be able to put that line on his resume. And this just happened to be how we did it. And then they also have access to the data they collected. So if they want to go on with other projects, they have that availability. This kid right here is working, he worked for surveyors in North Carolina. He wanted to rock climb, so he didn't want to stay caving. So he went to North Carolina, and I just gave him a phone reference for the city, for the PVA. So he's looking like he was going to move to them. So, if somebody calls me up and says, hey, what do you think? I'm like, he showed up, he worked for me for free in a really horrible and harsh environment with a really expensive piece of equipment. What do you want from him? How much more do you want from a guy? I mean, yes, hire him. The other kid, this is a different type of success. He pays half my daughter's rent now. So I'm really happy that that's worked out. He doesn't cave with me anymore because, well, he's not trying to impress his future father-in-law. He's already, so neither of them cave with me hard. They come on one trip, 2 trips a year anymore. So they're getting their education and doing whatever young people do. Anyway, that's so this is where we can talk about the equipment a little bit. The Faro machine is a good, solid machine. Customers love that machine. Dealing with the company is a nightmare. They're absolutely, their word, it has no value. Their promises are meaningless, and most of their technology is pirated off other people, so it's not really an innovator. But their end product is really, really solid for customers. So, they've got one half of this equation right. So what you do is you take that scanner, and if you look right here, this is a mirror on a 45. And so the laser comes out here, and the laser, that spins, so you've got a 360-degree ball of laser collecting millions of data points. And then the whole unit spins. So that's how you get your 360-degree sphere. And these balls are, we don't take them after the $200 accident I had. I've found that these styrofoam balls that kids use for making solar dioramas have a really high tolerance. So you can program in their size into the machine. And because, like so I say, these have a size, so the program, the computer program, can find this one shape and size in the program. And I've been able to add these other balls, and anyone can tear them up. They're a ton of lighter to carry through a cave, and there's so many different ways you can fasten them to a wall. They're just a lot. It's a lot better idea. So anyway, that's just the nuts and bolts of it. That's just kind of how that goes. Ben has really put together a class to teach cave LiDAR. So he teaches a class on our grant every year. He's worked to get it as continuing education units, so you can get if you're a professional, you can come and keep your education units for your career, and so it gets people a double dose for that. That class is like $25. It's in the cave, and then because it's so cheap and subsidized by the grants, then you owe us one shift of going in the cave and collecting data for the project. So it's kind of a cool class. And Ben's the only time I get to hang out with him more is to teach the class, because like I said, he's just his company, the company is just taking off. That whole department is just taking off. So this is a passage we call the volcanoes. The cave is actually active down in that corner down here, and it blows out debris and stuff during a flood event. You can see all the limbs and dead trees up in here. But the reason I want to show that is because this is looking at that same passage in LiDAR from the reverse. We're looking towards those guys' faces, and you can see the difference there. We can't carry enough batteries to light up the cave, so the LiDAR can't collect RGB data, so we have no color data or photography data because we just can't light it up. It's a struggle to keep the batteries for the machine current and running, and you have people constantly taking out to recharge, and you're begging to rent them, and just it's just always a chore to make that work. And so what we do is when it goes out to collect the data, it comes back and you get an XYZ, so you know where the laser point is in space. But it also comes back with a reflective indices, how reflective is the material it hit. And then we're able to use that to create a black and white, a fake black and white. So how reflective it is, or how dense the points are. It's like anything, it's a sphere. So the further you go away, the less dense, the further apart the points get. So we're able to create color and texture and stuff based on that stuff. This is another.
How long does each scan take?
Well, it started out at 7 minutes, but as machines have gotten a little better, we're probably down to 3.5. We do not scan at the highest resolution because there's no computer around that anyone could process the data with. So we're at a high range data set, but not at the best it would possibly do, because it just couldn't get done. We just couldn't get anything done if we did that. But you could take we've taken some 10-minute scans for proof of concept and stuff like that. But with the newest machines, you're about 3.5 minutes. So it doesn't take long at all. And you try to hide from it or follow it, so you go around you stay out of the laser. The lasers have also gotten better. They won't damage your eye now. Before we had those, we never could keep up with the laser glasses, so it's just like, don't look into the light. Please don't look into the light. And everyone took that advice, so it's worked out really well. This is a passage that's right in maybe 1,500 feet inside from the natural entrance, and we'll look at it on the map later. But you can see the LiDAR here. So we're looking at this part of the passage right here. And so with LiDAR, you can see this profile of that. And then here's the volcanoes that we looked at earlier. And so it's just a completely different way of looking at the map. Here it is in oblique, and you can see the warm bodies. They were moving. If they'd stood still, would have got them. And then you can see the scanner heads and this was done with earlier software where you couldn't get stuff out. Now that's a little better software and you can clean up your scans a little better. But this was in the infancy of all of it, not just caving, but just the technology. Again, here's that same passage. So here's where they were standing, right in here. You can see the scans. You can see these bright spots where the scans were taking place, and then the dark spots where there's not enough data. So you can see how we leapfrogged our way down this thing. And that's kind of how it works. Is a crew will be 4 people is a great crew. And so you have one person managing the scanner, and they baby that thing and carry it as if, I make them sign a thing that if we're going to be in court answering for a broken machine, you're standing there next to me. And so they tend to take it fairly responsibly. And so they'll carry the scanner down, and then you'll have another person that does book, and it's kind of just keeping track of where we put the targets, those balls, those styrofoam balls. And that helps the person later on when they're trying to geo-reference them and put them back together. And so 2 people will be setting those. We try to have an extra set, so you try to be down passage during your scan, setting your next setup, and that keeps 3 people busy. The one person's doing the quick sketch, and all you need is the 2 walls, maybe a big feature now and then, and where the targets are. And if you can put the scan names on as you go along, that's really helpful, but that doesn't make or break it. You know, they're pretty good. Again, here's another profile of that. So here's where we came in. Here's the volcanoes, another one, and then the passage goes on to a breakdown. I really like this passage, how nature uses the same shapes on macro. And one of my first research projects was in fractals. And so this idea that, you know, we use it in, nature uses it in helictite and something smaller than my thumbnail, and then in a passage, and then a snail also, or slug will use that same form in nature. It's just, nature just gets a good idea for a shape and just uses the heck out of it. And that's always just kind of fascinating. It's probably pointless to know that, but to me, it's just kind of a neat thing to see how it all fits. So you can see the flow too in this one, where there's shadows, where it's a stream flow during the where outside water comes in. So this is the natural entrance. It's got a karst window down here. It's really a pretty thing, and then just a disappearing stream. The stream just goes right into the cave. And this is from the top of that karst window, and then of course this is the passage, the karst window, and then the passage. And this terminates where that last picture I showed you, where everybody was standing in a row. This is usually ankle deep water, and the ceiling usually pushes you down to 3 feet, so you've got to get in it. And you can hug the walls and try to keep your feet dry, but it's just not fun, and it's so long. This is what it looks like in that karst window. That's Ed. I see Ed all the time. He's had a back operation though, and it just hasn't caved much with me much. This is the plan view. I found this fascinating. Here's the karst window is actually a stream capture. There was probably the original passage. Looks like it goes this way, and then it's a drain into that main passage. Again, this is that part where the slug looking thing is. That this was scanned later on, so it's really a cool project. This is the Pompeii scan. These people, there's a place called the River, and this was just somebody using free software, and they just sat still long enough to get captured, and it's just kind of a cool 3D SketchUp thing. Again, it's just way the kids, anybody with an imagination and some type of shareware will do something cool with the data. So anybody that that works on the project, whatever they need to, I think they use this to part of a job portfolio. Here's my work, here's how I do stuff. Of course, we had an expensive piece of equipment, and we took a selfie with it because, well, I had an expensive piece of equipment, and I'm a dumbass, and my friends will go along with that. So I'm lucky to have dumbass friends. And these are all the people that really made that go. QK4, Building Mid-America was the first company that took a chance on us. They also blackballed us and called all their friends, and it took a couple of years to. I'm renting from their friends, but they're never going to rent to me again. We destroyed a beautiful brand new Pelican case. Cincinnati Grotto gave us our first grant to pay our mortgage with, and that just gave us the free time to start writing silly. You know, when you're not worried about the mortgage payment, then you got time to write for silly stuff. And that's how that goes. The Cave Conservancy Foundation gave us the first LiDAR grant that they believed in us for that. And Copperhead Environmental has always been helpful. And you wouldn't think, but this is important. CNC Portables, the toilet people, always knock off $50, so we don't mess up the farmer's field when anywhere from 20 to 60 cavers come on his land and camp for a long weekend. So it is an important thing. Dogwood City Grotto, please keep going to TAG. That's how we get funded. They have always been wonderful. The Cleveland Grotto keeps saying, ask for more money, and I keep doing it too cheap. I don't know what to ask money for. So Precision Products, they, after Building Point, they're in the same building. They now rent to us. Their office manager, the equipment manager, grew up maybe 15 miles from Big Bad, had no idea that it was a caving area, but the idea that somebody would come to this part of the world where no one comes hardly and just put this much into it, he treats us like gold. I come down on Friday and just gut his shop, and then we bring it back on Monday or Tuesday, and I get it for 1 day's rent, and just takes phenomenal care of us. QK4 again, they started in the beginning, and yeah, those are the people that believed in us and really made it work for us. So let me start on the next thing. Okay. Any questions before I go? I only got a couple more things. I'm not, like I said, this isn't. I'm rushing through this, but I didn't want to make it so long and boring that, because noticed you really like talking to your friends, and who doesn't? I mean, I'm tired of being cooped up too. So, any questions?
It's not boring, Ken. Thank you so
Okay.
much. Show us more.
Okay. Well, then let me go on to the next thing. And like I said, I got two more things, and then we'll. Okay, where is that? Oh, I see what's. Okay, I didn't know that would do that. Okay. This is what I do when I drink coffee in the morning. And it's just I just started learning how to do what can I do with these scans for no money, and found this real estate software where it works with 360 photographs, and it's a really boring process, but it's all just as cheap as I could possibly get it, and a couple of webinars. But I bought the space on the internet with it because you have to work in WordPress. Because that's seems like the only kind of website that manages huge file systems. And so anyway, I got this and I started learning how to do it. And so what I do is I take the scans and there's shareware, freeware that's with the Faro scanner, and then I'll export it as a photograph or an image. It's not really a photograph. Then I'll bring it into an old version of Photoshop, and then stretch it to the correct, as close as possible, and then I'll project it with this software that realtors use. You're supposed to put like a 10-room mansion on or 15-room, and you make a little tour of real estate. But I found that you can put 100. You can put 100 on there, and it works okay. So, are you guys seeing the pipe?
Yes, we are,
good.
Ken. Also,
Okay.
I just shared, I did a big dump of links into the chat so that
Okay.
you can check it out.
Sure. Like I say, this is online. You guys can go to it if you want. If you don't, that's fine too. Anyway, it's a 360, it's the scan. So you can look anywhere in the scan, and, you can zoom in or zoom out. There's the missing data from the tripod. There's the spheres that we use to register everything. There's the one I broke. Anyway, what I've done is I've created these little links so you can go down in the cave and take a look around. I'm learning how to hide these Easter eggs and stuff. So there's the part of the cave we're in. And so the way you get through is if you see this symbol, that's taking you home or out of the cave. And if you see this symbol, then it's taking you further in. So here's this one, and this will take us down the cave. Like I say, you can look around anytime. And then I'm going to show you some of this cave because we're going to look at this whole thing a different way with a GIS and more of a technical LiDAR. Like I said, this is an image. And so and like I say, this is just climbing down. This used to be called the rabbit hole, but I renamed it to the black hole because my friend Dave Black couldn't fit through there. And so we blasted it open to get him through and increased the size of our donors by 100 pounds. It really was a good idea. Just to give you an idea how big this space is, that's a Pelican box. We couldn't put a tripod in there. We had to put the scanner on a Pelican box, just to give you an idea of just how tight sometimes we work. One of the things that we made to help is we have a piece of plexiglass with a bolt stuck up through it so we can put that on mud. It's really easy to decon. So like say we're in a white nose cave, so it's an easy thing to clean up with hot water or whatever, but you can get it down. You can get it down to what a fat guy like me can slide through on his belly. So we can get that sort of stuff. And like I said, this is, find this fascinating. If you guys look, you'll see these darker rocks, which is that sample sandstone. So that's that cap rock that's over top that's washing down into the cave. And again, there's just tons of it. Flagging tape. Again, you can look around anytime you want. It's got pretty good resolution. And like you say, this is here's that. I find this fascinating. You got this phreatic tube, but you still got that classic keyhole as the water disappeared. You can see that it turned into a drain and started cutting down and went to more of a water above the water table or Vados thing. Of course, there's this thing. I want you to notice this. You'll see it in the LiDAR. That's a little side passage that we scan. So when we look at the next thing, here's where we had to modify the tripod and stick the leg out at a 90 degree. So that's why we caught that data. Belly crawl here. Of course, you can turn around and we could only do that crawl, from one way or another. So it's still crawling. Oh, I hate that thing some days. So this part here where you have to crawl through on gravel. Did you guys do that in Texas? Do gravel belly crawls? Just to say a kind word for Texas, when I was straight out of high school, there was no work in Kentucky, and I went down to Houston, and those people put me to work and fed me for most of the year. So I've always got a soft spot for Texas. So it was my home, and they made sure I ate every day and got to go to work. So there's no caves in Houston that I know of. I really like this. This is a project that I don't have the time for, but I would like to get in here and measure all of these scallops and just take a look at scallops and how they fit with the cave and all of that. There's just a ton of scallops in here. I'm going to just get us to the pit so we can look at a different part of the cave, and then we'll move on to the next thing. And like I said, you guys are, there's a high entrance and a low entrance. So, and both of them, you climb this ladder out of the low entrance, and this is, there's a pit crawl so you can go down, or you can, like I say, come up and then you climb up out through here. And like I said, this is that, when we get, we'll look at that pit crawl and we'll take a look at things. When we look at the other thing, there's a rope going across the top. You saw that picture with the girl earlier, and then I love this. These guys came back, you know, from Asia and stuff. They don't really talk, you know, in the early '60s, and started after this cave. And you know, one of the old guys, he's, you know, there's this gigantic deal when his mom bought him a Brunton compass, you know, and there's no vertical on this cave at all. It's all just a stick map from this stuff. And then to go from that to this, it's just been this giant jump. And it's been really, really kind of an interesting thing. Like I say, these stalactites are all through here. You can, I'm learning to make tools. So if you come down here, you can click on the tools. But these stalactites they're just tiny, you know, thumbnail size stuff, but it's kind of cool. So like I said, there's plenty of tools down here in the bottom. You can turn right, turn left. Here's the balls where we crammed them in to register the passage. This is water. Water is the enemy of LiDAR. It's like your eyes. You know, you can look at a pool of water, and if you're at the correct angle, you can see right to the bottom. You can see these rocks, and it creates this beautiful underwater thing. And then right next to it, it bounces the LiDAR points 1,000 feet into the air, and it's not even in the cave. And you can't understand why your data won't work right. You have to find them and clean them out. And it's awesome and horrible. It's just not consistent enough to keep. So it's easier just to select all the points at the water line and delete them underneath, so you can get something done. So it's a thing. I wrote a paper for the NSS a few years ago on techniques and stuff. I didn't put it in any of my links. It's always baffles me when somebody reads something I wrote. But anyway, we'll just click through here. This is just belly crawls. I want to get to the 3 arrows room, just so it'll make a little more sense. And I put these little things in there, and like I said, I think the girl that scanned this was drunk. So at 2 in the morning, it was not a pleasant conversation. But yeah, here's the 3 arrows room. Yeah, we're getting close. And yeah. So here we are. This is pretty much the 3 arrows room. And it's the only reason I got us to that is because it's just a great spot to figure out where you are on the map and where you want to go to next, because you have 3 different options on where to go from here. And it's always kind of cool. And somewhere, yeah. And I miss going here. You know, nobody's caving right now in Kentucky, or we're not supposed to. I'm sure people are. We're kind of you know, going through trying to figure out what we're going to do. And I think we open the 11th to where we can where stores can start opening, and I think we're going to do masks and stuff. I'm not sure. So I'm hoping that kind of leads to that. I'm not sure on any of it. This is kind of a cool spot. Anyway, you guys get the point. You just keep going through the cave. So let me go on to the next thing, and then we'll wrap this up and do some questions and discussion, and we'll just go from there. So, oh yeah, stop share.
Hey, Ken, well, you're loading the next thing. And I realize there's not a lot of dust down there, but is that thing susceptible to dust at all?
Yes. Yes, I've had them take their hands and get the battery so dirty that you can't run the machine. And I found that when you're panicked and you've got the only thing you've got your camera cleaning stuff, your cloth and the liquid, that it cleans the battery really well and the case out really well. So
What
we
about
now,
dust in the air? Is a laser susceptible to that?
I have not noticed it being a real problem. It tends to cut through it pretty well because it's looking for something big. I would have guessed that it's bigger than dust. That
Okay.
it's a larger thing. Like I said, I've never looked at that because we have not had any problems. I mean, this being a flood cave, there's not a lot of dusty areas in there. It's
Right.
mostly sticky mud. But again, the dust. I mean, the equipment itself. I mean, we've wrecked a leg on the tripod because of dirt getting up in there and mud and stuff where it ruined all the shims that lock it. So the parts are only in England, so it's like a $3 part and a $15, I think it was a $30 mailing bill. So, but I mean, if I broke it, I fixed it. That's just how that works. So,
Thank you.
yeah, like I said, those have been my only bad experiences with dirt. Is just us. We have not been able to get the balls dirty enough to where they didn't reflect. They still come out perfectly spherical. So we've given up on trying to keep them clean. We don't even bother on those anymore. So it's something about its size. So it's that's not been an issue. So yeah, the other thing this I took 40 minutes to load. I loaded this yesterday to see how long it took. This is all of the scans and I load it into ArcGIS into ArcScene, their 3D model. And I color coded them by elevation. And I have not converted it so it's a metric. And so I am not, please don't ask me what things are. I can give you approximates on how high and how big I think things are, but don't ask me what those measurements are because I did it a little while ago. I just couldn't answer if I had to. But just to give you some ideas of what you've seen in images so far, this will give you an idea of where you are in the cave. This is the pipe. So here's the surface right there. And then here's that climb down where we looked at it.
Are you going to be sharing something, or am I screwing this up?
Oh, okay. I thought it clicked over, but let me redo this, okay?
Yeah, we can't see it yet, Ken.
Yeah, let me ask it again, okay?
I thought it was just me. I'm sorry.
No, I'm so glad you said something.
That's me on the greasy wheel.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah, that's it.
So anyway, let me start over so it makes more sense than just looking at my dumb face saying dumb stuff with no context. Here's the pipe. So we looked at the images with the culvert. So here we are in the culvert, and then like I said, we made our way down the culvert with the images. And then here's that crawl that we talked about. Remember I said, hey, remember where that little room is to the side? So that's that room right there before the crawl started. This is the pit right here. So where we came up to the pit, and then right here is the 3 arrows room. So if you look at it from this way, here's that waterfall that we looked at in an earlier picture. I know it was a long time ago, but when I was showing pictures of the cave, the waterfall was right here. So that's the waterfall. But if you also notice, there was a side channel in the bottom of the pit, and that actually connects that now. So that's where the water is going. The water runs in now and then runs down here to that waterfall. So it's, that's one of the reasons that pit got formed, as opposed to the original drain that carried the water down into the 3 arrows room, which the 3 arrows room, there's actually, you can see there's 3 passages coming out of here, but you can see this is obviously the original passage is coming through here and on down. And then 3 arrows room was, there's some missing data here, but it's obviously some sort of flood dome, which is so good for us because that led this sinkhole to find its way down into it. And then again, there's this is the helictite room over here. So you can see that the top of this flood dome. And there's also, there's several passages that all meet right here, but that's, like I said, the data took 40 minutes to load this much. It won't load anymore. It'll just crash and die. But it's just a way of taking that same data and looking at the caves. One of the early complaints when I presented this at the cartographic session at the NSS is this isn't mapping. And so I started looking at it like, yeah, here is profile, here's a plan view. If I had lots of money, I would have cross sections anywhere I wanted at any time. But the software, I just beyond the scope of a guy that's just a caver. I just don't. The software's not going to happen. The software on the previous stuff with the photographs with the tour, I basically just told them that I was a nonprofit, and they said they didn't have any discounts for nonprofits. And I said, well, I'll just go get a kid in college I cave with, and he'll get it that way. And they said, never mind, here you can have it cheap. And so I just went with a good bluff with them, and they gave me the bargain price. So
is the software like the price of a car, or what are we talking?
Yes. Oh, yeah. The scene software, the Faro software is 12,000, and you may get it down to 6 or 7 if you don't get a lot of stuff. But yeah, and I got in a grant one year where I did a video of the cave and stuff, and they wanted it for promotional stuff, and then so they gave me a software seat, and then I traded that for LiDAR rental to keep this project going because. I'd rather be in the cave with a piece of equipment than, sitting there with with a piece of software. So, like I said, I just kind of horse trade through this. Oh, hang on, my battery went dead on my camera.
You need to carry more batteries with you into your cave meetings.
Yeah, I know. I brought an extra one. Naturally the camera on my laptop went out as we were in the middle of needing to be on Zoom every week. So I've had to get some freeware to do this, and I'm just making it work. So anyway, like I said, this is kind of the last little piece. You see, cartographically, just the cave and how it works. Like I said, you can see these pits where these waterfalls are and how they dug down into where they're draining the cave to wherever the water table's going next. And then of course, like I say, there's a blue hole. I don't know if you guys have that geography where you're at, where you'll just have a resurgence of the groundwater, and it'll just be the prettiest blue where it's been away from sunlight and there's no algae, and it's just a pretty thing. I think there's a Missouri caver on here, so they got a ton of them out there. It's gorgeous. So anyway, yeah, that's it. That's about all I've got. So if you guys want questions or anything like that, I'll be glad to answer them in any way I can. I'm not sure if I feel like I covered everything, but if one of the things is the project happens on Labor Day at the end of the year, because we get the biggest bang out of the LiDAR rental. So we get it, like I say, we get it for Friday night on to Tuesday morning for the price of one day's rent. And if like I said, we've done it where we've just gone 24 hours, just people coming and going and just run the thing. So we get 6 or 7 days out of it, and really build some cool data. And then other times, everybody's had a hard week and we work 2 shifts and then go sleep and eat right. So it's always different, but it's free to anyone who wants to show up. There's no cost. The grant covers everything unless you want the training. Like I said, that was $25. And then like I say, whatever data you collect when you're up here, you're welcome to. And if you've got a bigger project, you can justify it. You can certainly get more data. So it's not a closed project or anything like that. It's meant to really help anyone build their career, or that's really the goal of it, is build human beings. So Cave will be here with me or without me. It does what it does, but all we got's each other. There's not that many of us, so we better look after each other. So.
Absolutely.
So anyway, any questions?
Cool. Thank you for presenting. That was pretty good. I like the pairing between the different softwares. Like also your column, fuck you, give me a cheaper price for this software. Good. You seem super resourceful and like good way to pair a lot of different things with the same tool. So that's cool. And as a young geologist that graduated not too long ago, like totally appreciate the work opportunities and experience stuff. So definitely good job with all that.
Sure. I gave up my geology degree to get at the end and switch to geography so I could work.
So my partner who was here, also, he's a geographer. So
okay.
we got you covered in this household.
I left it at the end and said, I got all these kids eating in my house, and I got the surface is paying in the subsurfaces, and unfortunately the sewers all blew up in Louisville, and so the caving background and water flow and all paid off. So I guess it was fortunate the sewers blew up. I was the right guy at the right time.
So how long did the LiDAR project take you in just regular time, I suppose?
Oh, it's never ended. I mean, we're fully funded for this fall.
Okay, so you're planning on doing,
yeah.
How much of the 14 miles do you guys have surveyed currently?
Oh, we're a little over 3 miles.
Okay.
Yeah, we've got all the low-hanging fruit, and so right now we're doing, the next thing is we've taken and we've stashed a bunch of food. That passage that we started with, that fly-through, at the end of that passage, we've stashed a bunch of food. We built a latrine where we can haul out our waste, and the next one we're just going to have to do the majority of the workers will be there, and then people that want to do day trips can come and go and Sherpa stuff in and out. So the next one's going to be a little bit, you're going to live back there for a little longer. So it's a different type of a trip, but anyone's welcome. And like I said, and like I said, if you've only got a day, then just show up, carry some fresh batteries back, or carry some snacks back to us or something, and help carry stuff. I mean, if that's all you got to give, that's enough to get you the data. I don't care.
Are you guys planning a trip this fall?
Yes. Yeah. Like I said, we're completely funded. We've already got our grants secured, and I've already got the machine reserved. And I to be honest, it's been a tough time for my family during all of this.
Yeah.
So we've had a few losses my brother-in-law passed from the flu. Who would have thought? Anyway, so it's kind of knocked the wind out of me to do stuff. So I'm doing things like this to force myself to put my feet back in the water and do a little more each day.
Right on.
Yeah.
I hope you have a great one.
Like I said, it's an interesting thing. So like I said, these are really good for me. So I'm so grateful that you guys have tolerated me, because this is
we're happy to have you.
Make it about me. But if I didn't have
tolerating
you
at all.
Yeah, if I didn't have you holding me accountable, I probably would just not be as engaged and stuff. So it's really,
we appreciate it.
Yeah. So like I said, I appreciate you all. And I heard Nico's name mentioned. He and I sat in a bar in Baltimore. It's the only time I've met him, and talked about this project and caving and what it is to be a decent person for an evening.
Oh yeah, he is a decent person. He's our cave activist, for sure.
So
Justin Shaw here. So hey everybody, you guys, let's unmute and show our appreciation if you can.
Oh my God, yes.
Unmute yourselves.
Thank you.
My best bow.
Nice.
Who found a cave?
Again, any questions? I'll be glad to do the best I can. Like I said, the opportunity. I've created an opportunity for any caver that wants it, and that's always here. So just
I'm gonna post the links on our web page, on our Facebook page for the grotto as a follow-up, guys. But they're also in the chat on the meeting here, and then I'll post it on the Facebook page too.
Yeah, I've got a YouTube channel with a section on just the LiDAR stuff where got different stuff. So if you want to see things actually in motion with sound, you can go look at that. And there's some other fly
Awesome.
throughs that other people have done. But like I said, Paige was just one in a million. She was just phenomenal. She got her master's in cave salamanders, and then has gone on to study snakes. So, I mean, anybody that spends that much time with cave salamanders is all right with me. So fascinating things, those cave salamanders. I've learned more than I wanted to know.
We know a lot about salamanders here too.
Oh, really? Do you have the black ones?
No, we have, well, we have the Plethodon, which are the black and green spotted ones,
Okay.
This big or so, but we also have like several endangered and threatened blind salamanders, Brighton Spring salamander, and a bunch of others. Jollyville Plateau salamander, Toledo, Texas blind. Yeah, so we've got some salamanders down here too.
Awesome. I just
It's
know the
a very big
black
part
and
of
orange. Black and
yeah, we
orange.
don't have the black and orange ones like you guys have, but
Okay.
but yeah, it's a very big part of our aquifer and aquifer saving scene. It's a good, endangered species will always kill a project, right? So good.
Very cool. I've never caved in Texas, so I need to put it on my list.
It's all right, we're okay with it.
Yeah, come and visit.
Yeah.
Actually, someone mentioned earlier, have you ever heard of our HydroGeo, what is it, workshop? HydroGeo?
Yeah, the Texas HydroGeo workshop. It's Bear Grotto with the Edwards Aquifer Authority and Scary Shindle's pet project and Bear Grotto's pet project. But it's a good I guess entry level kind of thing, or college level student. Get some good hands-on learning on a variety of topics, including cave LiDAR. They usually do a session every year.
Oh, cool. Yeah, Gary used to be an Indiana caver.
Yeah, he's been here for a while.
Over a
doing
decade.
things. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, HydroGeo workshop for any of the other people on the meeting is a really good opportunity for just kind of general knowledge, or just going to cave. I think they do a couple wild cave trips too.
Oh.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
I work for a real estate developer, and we have a camera called Matterport, and I go through all these empty suites and make 3D scans of them. But I've seen on the Matterport website, so it's similar to the LiDAR. I don't know if it's exactly the same. It's really interesting, and I know that it has been used in caves based on tours I've seen on the Matterport examples website, and so have you ever heard of that or used that or thought of that?
I'll look into that because it's a pay service, so it kind of lost after I learned how to do it. But because you can take 360 cameras and capture that data, and then it'll geo-reference it, and you're able to get links and size, and it knows where it's at spatially. So it's a really fascinating thing. Like I said, I've looked into it, but I think it's the cheapest you can get away is $50 a month or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, but it's worth it. In my opinion, it's worth it.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I have an ongoing relationship with my work, and we all need, so in my opinion, it's worth it. But and the camera is so much cheaper. It's $4,000 instead of all these other amounts you've been saying.
Yeah, I've seen guys doing it with $400 cameras.
Oh, I thought you were talking about 6,000.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at this really. I was looking at it as a bare bones. How cheap can you get this done? And seeing what guys on YouTube are doing with gray tape and I've seen some really cool stuff with it. It's just, I'm old, and every time I have to spend $50 means I have to go earn $50. And
I don't know. I guess we're in different situations.
Yeah, you're still making your career, and I'm done.
I get it. I wish I was done.
Yeah, I'm never going to be any more accomplished than this. This is it.
Oh, good. No, I was just curious if you knew anybody that has actually used the Matterport in a cave. Do you know any of people that have done that?
No, I've not seen anybody. This
I
could
think
be.
I should try it. I actually have it at my house, so I should. Is there a cave I could go do this in? Because Like in Austin, I'm serious. I'm asking you guys. What do you think? Could
Is
I
that
go
why
do
you were
Whirlpool?
asking about
Whirlpool. Whirlpool.
You think Whirlpool would be good, or should I try another cave?
No, Whirlpool.
Something
I mean-
smaller first, maybe.
I think like midnight would be amazing. But I
Midnight,
don't know if that's
yeah.
possible.
Why would you not do midnight?
That's what I was thinking too.
I don't know if it's possible.
Well,
Because
You talk to the right people.
yeah, I'd have to hold the tripod or yeah, it wouldn't work. It's not possible.
You could get it on a rod, like
I could
Whirlpool's
definitely
like
do
40
the
feet
bottom.
or
I just couldn't
midnight.
do like the drop. I couldn't do the drop.
Nice. I
Could
can
do the
help you with
top.
the drop.
Well, I could do the top like a 360, and I could do it. Well, I just don't want to be in it. That's my problem.
Oh, so you need a like a special rig for the camera to be like halfway in the drop and then scan it, leave it there, and then come back and get it.
So doesn't Benji von Kramen do something like this? Ken, do you know this person? Benji?
Benji?
Kramen? I
Yeah,
have
I've met Benji.
double sinkhole. He has some kind of pole situation where you have all kinds of things out on the poles, and yeah, it's that.
You talking about the guy up in Tag that does the 3D stuff?
Yeah. He does all this. Yeah, he lives in Atlanta, but he goes all around. He's been here. He works with Gary Schindel, and we're back down to that
Well,
one.
I'll tell you, 90% of his stuff is his software magic. I mean, that guy
Yeah.
writes so much stuff and just as, I mean, he's doesn't brag on it, but he's brilliant in that aspect.
Mm-hmm.
He's just a I mean, being able to see it and how to see it and then to go back and write it down and make a piece of software do it, just that's like writing music. I mean, that's art.
Mm-hmm.
My experience with taking expensive equipment into a cave, I would find a walk-in cave and just dial in my process before I started doing a tough cave. And I'd be fine with being in the shot and just know that those are going to get scrapped. These are proof of concept. If I were going to try Matterport, and I would go in somewhere where I could carry my stuff in. I'm not wasting time caving. I'm wasting time figuring my process out. Because whatever you think is going to work, it's not. Plus, you're going to have with photography, you got the weight of lights. You're going to have to light.
Right. Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
And I have been doing it a lot, and I feel like my process is pretty spot on right now. I've been doing it a lot. So, I would really like to try it. I think it'd be really fun.
I wouldn't see why not. I mean, are you working with flashes? Are you using like?
I don't know. I'd actually have to ask for help with that because I don't have any lights myself. I just use natural and shop whatever's in the place that I'm scanning. I use
You're in an office building.
Yeah, and it looked like the software would let you lighten it too. That you had some room in the software to adjust your photography.
Me?
Yes, in the Matterport software, it looked like you could adjust, change the exposure a little, lighten it up.
No.
So they're doing that in some other.
Yeah, but actually, the lighting that they use is like spot on. It's like better than the pictures that I take when I'm asked to go take pictures.
Oh wow!
So people every time without fail they want to use those pictures because they're so straight and they're so perfect and they're like ideal, and people like in real estate always want perfect and straight and ideal.
No, I'm I've done a couple of real estate jobs with the software making those little tours, and they want everything too.
Yeah, tell me about it. Anyway.
Yeah.